tight head prop player power rankings, then the top 10 tight heads in the world as I see it, based on current form, historic form, and a little bit of gut feeling thrown in for good measure as well. Leave your thoughts in the comments, hit subscribe, and hit like as well on the video. This is the anchor of a team, isn't it? The anchor of the set piece, which I love that the scrum is still a massively important part of a rugby union team, and we're going to see that again in the World Cup. So the last time I did my player power rankings, that was my top 10. And there have been some new faces. There have been some changes within that list as well. I'll be very interested to know what you think about number 10, Xander Fagerson, who drops down a couple of spots. He's a big unit and 27 years of age, 20 stone. I'm going to give the weights of all of these tight head props because these are the big behemoths on a team. And Xander Fagerson, do you know what? Very, very good player. Really important for Scotland. They'll be delighted he is available for the South Africa game and avoided a longer suspension for an indiscretion there. But he is prone to giving away a few penalties. And that discipline is part of the reason why he drops down the list. But he's still in the top 10 for me. Number 9, also dropping down a spot, Taniela Tupou. You still think of him as quite a young guy, don't you? But he's 27 now, and he's had 50 caps for Australia. It's about time this guy started delivering on the promise, not just with highlight reel moments, but with consistent performances game after game after game. He's had injuries, he's had ups and downs in form. On his day, a world-class tight head prop. Can he bring it at the World Cup? Number 8, new face into the top 10, Dorian Aldegheri. He's had to wait quite patiently. I think he's only on around 10 or so caps for France after he's been involved in the national squad for a few years now, playing at Toulouse, another player playing at Toulouse. And anyone that can get into the Toulouse team at tight head prop has to be an absolutely quality player because and the French league is a brutal place for scrummaging. Dorian Aldegheri never lets France down when he plays at tight head prop. So he is my number 8. At number 7, Trevor Niakane is up the list. And now this guy is amazing. Firstly, he's a photographer's dream, isn't he? He pulls some incredible faces. Do you remember the British and Irish Lions tour a couple of years ago? Oxenche got the injury. Trevor Niakane, a tight head prop, just switched to loose head and dominated there. Won some scrum penalties in the second and third test at loose head. The guy's a phenomenal athlete, 39 years of age, 19 and a half stone, playing for Racing 92, another guy in the French leagues. And what a player to have in your squad. International quality, both sides of the scrum, brilliant tight head. And he is the third choice tight head behind Vincent Koch, already a World Cup winner. Trevor Niakane missed out on the Rugby World Cup last time because he got injured just before the tournament. So he will be so motivated to try and win a medal for himself. Vincent Koch already has one medal. Can he add to that? He's 33 now, real experience there as well. Playing for Stade Francais, another player doing his job in France, the hardest place on earth to week in, week out, be a scrummaging prop. And Vincent Koch is a safe pair of hands. He stays at number 6 on my list. Dropping down one spot at number 5, Tyrell Lomax, who actually has been brilliant. He had a great rugby championship, went off early in that South Africa game the other week. Generally, though, his trajectory is up. So you might think it's a bit of a surprise that he's actually dipped down. That's not a reflection of Tyrell Lomax, who is, 6'4", one of the bigger, taller tight head props at 20 stone. Aussie born, Aussie raised, but playing for his father's homeland in New Zealand, and he has been absolutely brilliant. I tipped him to be one of the guys that really flies up this chart, and I would still tip him to be one of the guys that by the end of the World Cup, we might be talking about him much closer to the top. Really, really like him, but he is number 5. The only reason he's dropped down is because Beka Gigiashvili of Georgia is an absolute mutant. He's we've got Tyrell Lomax, who's 6'4". Beka Gigashvili is just 5'10" and 18 stone. Plays for Toulon. Again, another player playing in France. And he was the best tight head prop in France last season. No question. He dominated teams that he played against. He was man of the match in the European Challenge Cup semi-final. Demolished Glasgow in the final as well. He is absolutely brilliant. And for Georgia, I hope we get to see the talent that he's got. Georgia are an emerging team. I wish World Rugby and Six Nations would give them a little bit more opportunity and exposure. Because guys like this, if he were of another nationality, starting tight head right there for pretty much for most international rugby teams. Love him. Number 3, Tadhg Furlong was number 1. And he was in the World Dream Team, let's not forget, in 2021 and in 2022, the best player on earth in his position. He's just had a little bit of a dip, partly because of injury. He's not quite been as dominant. And this is all relative because he is still an exceptional player. And he's the kind of guy that is there for the big occasion. So I'm sure now the World Cup's here, he will raise his game. And, you know, if he were to see this video, he'd be thinking, oh, I'll show you. An absolute beast. The Wexford Bull is my number 3. And he's leapfrog by number 2 and number 1. Frans Malherbe. Now, this is the best scrummaging tight head on earth. There's no question about that. And real experience, 32 years of age, 21 stone. Made his debut 10 years ago for the Springboks, World Cup winner in 2019. Absolutely demolished England in the final. I unfortunately remember that very well, and he's done it to many teams since. Why is Frans Malherbe at number 2 then? Well, I think actually it's because there's so little to choose between these top 3. Frans Malherbe, best scrummager, but he has got, well, Trevor Nyakane and Vincent Koch backing him up. Therefore, you can play Frans Malherbe with confidence for 45, 50, maybe 55 minutes at a push and then bring him off. He does not have the conditioning to go 80 minutes, but you don't need to when you're South Africa. He's incredible, the job he does for the Springboks. He's number 2. My number 1 is Owini Atonio, by far the biggest player, but also a guy who has actually, and has had to do it a couple of times, has got 70, 80 minutes in him. And, you know, solid at set piece time, 150 kgs, 23 and a half stone that is, and he's now 33 years of age. Another player who plays in France at La Rochelle. But it's everything else that Owini Atonio does that's not in the set piece that I think just elevates him to number 1. It's the same reason why Tadhg Furlong was the number 1, because he can do those nuts and bolts, but he does so much more besides. Owini Atonio has to take 2 or 3 defenders every time he carries the ball, and that is what helps create space for Antoine Dupont, for Thomas Ramos, for Damien Penaud. There's a lot of hard work goes on in the tight areas for France that then leads to all the amazing stuff that we see further on. So just edging it for me over the numbers 2 and 3 is Owini Atonio. But hey, it'll be interesting to revisit this at the end of the Rugby World Cup and see where we stand. That is the tight head prop. I'd love to know your thoughts. Leave your comments, hit subscribe, like, and it's those locks coming next. See you on the next video.